How to replace the front brake pads and rotors on a 2001 Toyota Highlander. The only tools you'll need is a 21mm to remove the wheels. Next tool you'll need is a 14mm to remove the caliper. Then you'll need a 17mm to remove the bracket. That's the only tools you'll need. You also need a flathead screwdriver, which is optional, which helps me out quite well. Before I take this off, I'll put the flathead screwdriver in between the brake pad and the caliper itself, and I pull towards me. Therefore you can push the piston back in, and after you do that, that'll make the caliper come off easier. You also will need a big set of pliers to push the piston in all the way, which you wasn't able to get pushed in all the way. Or you could use one of those brake caliper press tools where it's got two ends, two metal piece, and as you're screwing it outwards, it'll push the piston back in, and if you go the other way, it retracts back in. I'll show that tool later in this video. So let's go ahead and get started. So what you want to go ahead and do, I've already compressed this piston. I'm going to take your 14mm and remove these two bolts. After you get the bolts off, what you want to do is just kind of pull up and down, wiggle it off. What I like to do is sit my caliper where someone's not going to fall. I definitely do not like to have it hanging on the brake line itself. I like to have it supported by something. Either you can have it sit like this where it won't fall and hit you. I've already had that happen once on a vehicle. Or what I like to do too is, this is long enough, haven't tried, you can just have it hanging like that, just hanging up here. Alright, after you do that, what you want to do is get your 17mm. Don't know how well you'll be able to see it, but you got this bolt here, and you got this bolt here that you want to go ahead and remove. These will be on there quite tight. If you want, you can take the brake pads off, or you can just do it when you take the bracket off. I always like to do it when I take the bracket off. And off go the brackets. Now if you're lucky like I am, your rotor will not be seized to the hub. Now if your rotor is seized, I've heard people taking hammers to the back end of it. I don't really personally like that idea, unless you're using like a rubber mallet maybe to beat it off, but using like a regular hammer like that, I would not do that unless you're actually replacing the rotor like I am. Then have fun with it. Or you could take a screw with a socket and a ratchet or a drill and put a screw inside of here and inside of here, and the screw inside of there, and it'll push, the screw will push onto the hub, therefore it'll pull the rotor off of the assembly. So if you're wondering what I mean by those screws, you take screws like that, take a socket and ratchet, or if you got like an impact drill, minor one, no, heavy duty one, just kind of slowly push this, tighten this in, and that will pull the rotor. I just like to work my way back and forth. I'll tighten this one in some, tighten this one in some, and just kind of go back and forth till the whole rotor comes out. In this case, I did not need these to get this rotor off. Now what I like to do too, when I take the rotor off, I like to clean the hub. So you see where all the rust buildup is. I like to take, I guess you call it like a die grinder or whatever, like a scuff pad, and just get this all nice and cleaned up. And you can also take a, I don't know off my head, but they make a special tool too, where it cleans the threadings on here. I don't really have a sandpaper, but I have a rough scuff pad, and that worked out quite well on there. If I had the actual angle grinder or die grinder, I'll be able to get this nice and like bare metal looking. As long as most of your rust is off of there and cleaned up, you should be good. Now it's time to go and throw on the new rotor. Unless you're going to get yours turned, I would highly recommend, if you're replacing brake pads, turn the rotors or get them replaced. These rotors are so badly warped, it's not even worth turning. If you turn it, there ain't going to be nothing left of it. So we are replacing it with some new ones. Alright, here's the new rotor. Yes, it's not on in there correctly. What I'm going to say, I would recommend, since this is aftermarket rotor, they do add some type of coating to prevent the rust on there, and you want to get that cleaned off, therefore your brakes will adhere to it. So what I would suggest using is brake cleaner, or throttle body cleaner is the same kind of thing. Just give it a good spray down on it and wipe it down. Then you can turn it around and do the other side of it. Get nice good cleaning. Then wipe it down with some rags or paper towels. Nice and shiny now. Now when you go to pick it up, what I try not to do is touch the actual rotor itself. Grab it from the sides here. Therefore your oil from your hands does not mess around with the rotor itself. Because I've heard if you had oily hands, let's say you spill transmission fluid on it, and your car, if you just leave it on there and try to stop with the car, your car ain't going to stop because of that oil on there. So you want to make sure it's nice and good and clean, and your oil from the hands are not on there. Time to clean this side now. That's just all from the new rotor, just wiping it down because of that stuff, the film that they put on it. So what I like to do too, I like to put a lug nut on there, therefore it holds the rotor into place. And now you're ready to switch out your brake pads and put on your brake bracket. Now these pads here already have shims on them, so I don't really need to transfer over the old ones if they actually do exist. Yes, they do. The only thing I'd have to probably transfer over, if these have it, I have not looked at it, is those squealers. The squealer, they usually mount on the ears on them. Now if you got the Toyota brake pads, the original ones, you will need to transfer over the shims. Also, what I like to do is when I take the brake pad out, take a wire brush and clean that metal bracket piece here. This one here is not too bad, but if you live more up north where it snows and salt, I'll definitely take a wire brush and clean the metal thing off. Now here's the tool that I was talking about to compress the piston in. This one's like the ratchet type, that when you pull it outwards, it will push the piston inwards and back inside. But you gotta have pressure for this to actually ratchet back and forth on there. Alright, so here's what it looks like as you just kind of push it in. You gotta have two hands for this, but as you pushing inwards, or pushing down at least, it will retract this outwards, therefore it's pushing the piston back into place. Alright, after you got that compressed, you can go ahead and throw in your caliper and put in your two bolts on there. This is the same step for the driver's side. Once when you get done doing your brakes, what you want to get in the car and pump the brakes till it's nice and hard. And after that, start the car up, then pump the brakes a little more. Then when you take it for a test drive, just drive slowly and press the brakes a couple times. Make sure they are working. So that pretty much sums it up on how to replace the front brake pads on your 2001 Toyota Highlander. I will have a video showing how to do the rear brakes also. So thanks for watching.